Take a moment to read what is written on the screen. If you are a woman, there are 100% chances that you have heard one, many, or maybe even all of them. If you are a man, stop and think, have you ever said this to a woman? Being a woman means encountering these biases on an everyday basis. For decades, we have heard talk of empowerment, political talks of enabling women, and we have indeed made progress. But these biases are stubborn and they undermine our progress. Biases unintentionally weed us out from places we belong to, workplaces, and even public spaces. So today, let's hear from women of LiveAltlife and some men on the biases they have experienced and seen around them, because understanding is the first step to eliminating them. Let's break the bias together.
And a very small thing that happens in most household but go unnoticed as gender bias. For example, when guests come home, it's always the duty of the woman to serve the guests. We even go ahead and encourage younger kids, girls especially, to do the same. It is never expected of the boys.
When it comes to anything to do with mechanical engineering or design, to do with automobiles, it just seems to be an expectation that women don't understand or can't handle a conversation around it. And I've seen that men tend to just tune you out for the most part unless you really make your point felt.
Of all the humiliation, one thing that I remember is my ex mother in law telling me, "You have arrogance because you have financial independence." That's when it struck me that more than men, it's women who still uphold the patriarchal system in our society. We often see in our family where women of the house telling us to cover up our skin, to come home early, to take more responsibility, etc.
I decided to move to Bangalore. There were many people who had their opinions and questions regarding the same. Some were skeptical with my decision. Like they asked me stuff like how a single woman will survive in a big city. And some even say that it's not that safe there, or that I'll get lost or lonely, and I might return back very soon. Some even suggested that I should get married and then move to whatever city I want with my husband. Some even asked if whether it's really that important for me to move out just to pursue my career.
This is a very recent incident that happened with me. I was supposed to meet my friends and I decided to wear a dress for that occasion. To which my father was very reluctant, but I was very stubborn about wearing that dress. So he got very annoyed and said, until you're in this house, all of these things are not allowed. Once you go to your husband's house, you can do whatever you want. After that, I didn't even wear that dress once. That statement just stayed with me in my heart.
Young girls in the age bracket of about 24 to 28 would often get asked if they were looking to settle down or if their parents were looking out for grooms for them. Similarly, women who were married but with no kids would subtly get asked about their family planning. And the responses to these obviously affected the decision around their employment opportunity.
When I was groped for the very first time, and the guy walked away with a smirk on his face while I was scared and ashamed for a very long time. Upon speaking about this with my girlfriends, I realized many of them had similar kind of experience before they even hit 16.
Me, my sister, both of us were in primary school. She's 2 years older than I. And then we had gone for our summer vacation to, our grandfather's place in Mysore. And, one day, our maid wasn't going to come. And we had an elderly aunt who used to live there. And she came over, both of us were playing. And she came and tells my sister, hey, the maid's not coming. I need your help. Can you help sweep the house? Right? She said, no problem. Then she asked, what about Vivek? Will he be helping? And my aunt looked back at her and said, hey, he's a boy. No, you do it. Right? And then I could see the look of, confusion, anger, etc. on my sister's face. And my aunt went away, right? Dismissively saying that, hey, this is not something boys do.
Once we educate a woman or girl in the family, or give some basic right that she should always have, Generally, unconsciously or consciously, the relatives and the family say, we let you study, or we were happy that you studied, or something like that, just in a manner to show that, they did a favor to us, or they were so good that they did this.
I'll talk about a close friend of mine who has experienced gender bias from a very young age within our family. The major problem, however, started when she wanted to go abroad to pursue her further studies. But this was denied by her parents, and in fact, they instead wanted their younger son to go abroad. And the reason was that they wanted to marry her off at that age, and her only ticket to go abroad was through marrying a guy from the UK or US. But the boy child had the option to uh, do his masters abroad and build a career out of it.
Of my best friend, my mom, going through all of this pain throughout her life. Let me speak about her one scenario about her where she was really good at sports, sports like short distance running. She went till state level, but no one supported her just because she's a woman. Even her parents didn't support her just because she had to go out of state for practice or training or anything like that, just because she's a woman and she dropped the idea of becoming a sports runner. So I feel really bad for her and all the women out there who didn't even get the opportunity to prove themselves.
I've not been able to really step out when I want to go out at night. I do have a curfew and I have to get back home before it gets dark, or I cannot be dropped home by a guy. And I'm not so free about talking about having guy friends, and it's seen as, oh, you're a girl, how can you mingle with the guys so much?
I'll cite few examples from my educational experiences. I remember we had a dress code which was applied only for women, and guys were free to wear anything they wanted. Also, I remember we had a stricter schedule as women to return back to the hostel in the evening, but it was very lenient for the boys and they could roam about a little longer.
One of the issues that I have faced and I have been seeing a lot is when women try to speak their mind. I think somewhere or the other, an outspoken woman has it worse than an outspoken man.
So now that we have heard so many stories of biases people have faced and seen around them, let's also look at what do we think are some of the ways to break these biases.
I believe we need to raise our future generation in a way that they see all the people with an equal gender neutral lens, that they believe that the person walking next to them is a human and not a man or a woman.
When you teach your daughters to cook or do household chores, involve your son too. They both should know that they both are equally responsible to take care of a family. So when the mindset changes within, it obviously will reflect outside.
Women are the biggest enemy of women. So, what needs to change in the society if we have to make it bias free world is the years of conditioning of women and upbringing of children. From childhood, a boy should be taught everything that a girl is taught, and vice versa. And yes, it may sound like, again, the responsibility lies with women, but it's the unfortunate situation.
Teach your sons similar things. Also teach them to respect women, and teach them that women are just as important and they are capable, and not to exploit them or their rights in any way.
And one way I think we can create a bias free world is by trying to unlearn those things that force us to make a bias. These are the things that probably we have learned from our parents, relatives, or someone else. And unknowingly, we also practice them in our daily life. So, a little bit of unlearning can also make a big difference.
This Women's Day, I strive to be able to raise a boy with no gender biases. I hope I'm able to set examples for him wherein he treats the other gender as a human and not a woman.
Try to educate people around me as much as I can, and hopefully one day the world becomes the same place for a woman as it is for a man.
So hopefully, as time passes, as generations go by, each time it comes down, some of these biases get broken, and eventually there will be a time when there's no difference, there's no bias, and everything's equal.
I believe that pointing out to somebody's mistake sometimes make people better.
So, to tackle issues like this, we need to be open to talk about it, and most of us don't even realize that these stereotypes have been ingrained in our minds from a very young age, and we could negatively impact others through our words or actions if we don't learn what the stereotypes are. And yeah, it is the responsibility of everyone to educate oneself. And if you or anyone that you know is experiencing this, we need to learn to address this matter.
The way to tackle this is, first of all, not having expectations from anybody, like being more independent, doing your own thing, and also being more empathetic and not taking the other person for granted.
I think it has to start from the house and conditioning right from when the child is young. So it's up to really the parents, both the mother and the father, in terms of the exposure the child receives and the kind of upbringing, really, in terms of what you think is acceptable or not, with both men and women, which will shape the way the child thinks as the boy or girl grows up.
ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ವುಮೆನ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಮಲ್ಟಿ ಟಾಸ್ಕರ್.
According to me, women are equal to men.
I see that corrections are happening to the gender bias part of life. I think the pendulum is, swinging to the other side, which at times feel again a little overhyped, but that is necessary for the neutrality acceptance to come and settle somewhere in the middle.